Hello, Colts Nation, and what is up, No Horsing family? Welcome back to an episode of the No Horsing Around podcast. As always, I am one of two dudes talking Colts. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Burton, and as always, we are powered by our amazing sponsor, Wager Wire, which is a one-of-a-kind revolutionary sports betting app. And how is it revolutionary? You guys hear me talk about this all the time. How is it revolutionary? You can bet on games all the way up to the moment the puck drops or the ball goes in the air or the kickoff, right? You can even get out of parlays before they bust. Let's say you do a 14 parlay and you're kicking butt and you think that last one's going to go, you can get out of it. You can still make a little bit of money. That's pretty freaking cool. So make sure you go check them out on Twitter at WagerWire. You go to their website, www.wagerwire.com. It's going to ask you for your email address. Drop that in there so you don't miss when the app comes later this month. You can always check out their Twitter spaces too, which is by fans, for fans. It's just an amazing sponsor. We're really happy to have them. So today's episode, you guys, all the talk. I mean, what do we talk about, right? Like, we can talk about Anthony Richardson, right? We got lots we can talk about coming up too with the schedule release. I want to get some information out there about Joshua Downs. But I wanted to talk about Anthony Richardson tonight because there's a lot of now like call your shots, right? Like tell me what you think he's going to do stat wise. So, and it's tricky, right? I think a lot of us can all agree we think he should be playing from probably week 1. 13 college starts. You've heard, on NFL Live, you heard Matt Hasselbeck talk about it. You've heard Dan Orlovsky talk about it. You've heard my boy Zach talk about it. We've heard everybody talk about it, right? That the only way to get experience playing is you have to play. So we've all been a big advocate of that. It has sounded like Coach Steichen is the same way, that he thinks, the only way you get that is like you got to play, like you got to go into those situations. So I think that's where they're leaning. So for this practice, for this one, let's presume that he starts from week 1. Let's all get on the same page, and let's assume Anthony Richardson is QB1 going into week 1 against whoever or wherever we're playing. What do we think his stats are going to be? And I've heard some ones. I've heard some of them. I've heard some that are like low. You've heard some people on Twitter who didn't want Anthony Richardson, who think he's going to be horrendous, that throws out horrible stats, right? And then you hear some that I don't know if it's realistic. And then you hear some ones that are really kind of really well right in the middle. Like I've heard 4,000 yards passing. I don't think that. I've heard 1,200 yards rushing. I don't think that. Like, let's remind ourselves too that Lamar Jackson broke 1,000 yards rushing, and he was one of like the few to ever do that. Michael Vick, I think, did it one time. He did it one time, and that's about it, right? Like it's rarefied air. So I think that's a little off. I'm going to kind of lean towards. So my boy Drake over at Horseshoe Huddle, I think he had a really good breakdown. He's got him playing 17 games. And if you need to see this, go over at side.com, go over to Horseshoe Huddle. He wrote an amazing article, Drake did, breaking down like 5 things to watch, 5 predictions for the offensive side of the ball. And he broke down with Anthony Richardson, right? So he's got completing about 55% of his passes, little over 3,000 yards, 3,095 yards, 23 touchdowns, 17 picks. He's got him having 135 carries for 685 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 6 fumbles. I think that's a really good one. I mean, and Drake knows, and he can text me because I'm sure he's going to watch this. I think the only spot that I might disagree with him on a little bit is the passing. I think it's not going to be that high. I think it's going to be closer to, and this is like splitting hairs, I think it's going to be like 2,700 yards passing potentially. That 23 touchdowns sounds like it could be pretty well right. 17 interceptions, I think, is really spot on. Maybe a few less touchdowns. I think it's going to be kind of even. I like the number of rushing yards. I think 685 is a really good number. I think if you go above 700 or 800, I think that's a lot. 8 rushing touchdowns. I could probably see more, only because I think that there's going to be a lot of discuss. They're going to implement that tush push, right? That goal line sneak that the Eagles did, I think. And he's a big dude. So I think you can have some more touchdowns. I think that's a really realistic one. I mean, so for me, if I'm doing it, I'm going to say about 2,800 yards passing, 21 touchdowns, 17 picks. So it's splitting hairs with Drake on this one, right? I like that 685. I think I'm going to go just a touch. I think I'm going to stick with that. I think I'm going to go 10 rushing touchdowns only because I think he's going to get a lot of goal line ones. I think when you get inside the 3, inside the 5, I think they're going to do a lot of that because people are going to be keying on Jonathan Taylor. He's going to have a big year. Interceptions, like I said, I like that. I think like 18. I could see that. And I think I think he plays all 17 games. I think they're going to start him. I think he is going to be the week 1 starter. I think they're going to shape the offense to fit him. We talked about it leading up to the draft at nauseum, right? That Steichen could fit the offense to any quarterback. They're going to fit it. And what do I mean by that, right? I mean what they kind of did with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, what they did to an extent, what they did with RG3 in Washington back in the day. It's where you kind of implement this college style offense a little bit. You're going to let him run. You're going to let him break containment and get outside of the pocket, right? You're going to let him do those things because then the coverages break down a little bit. They become simpler reads for him to throw the ball. And the dude is a freak athlete. Like he's an alien is what everyone says, right? So I think they're going to look to run him and simplify the offense for him and give him game reps. Now, is that going to lead to a lot of wins for the Colts this year? Man, I don't know. Probably not. I think the sweet spot number we're all seeing is like 6 to 7 wins, which is a few more than last year. But man, like the hype around this season and the excitement around this season is just different, right? Like you can win 6 games, but if Anthony Richardson looks like he's progressing by the end of the year, man, you're feeling pretty good. You're feeling pretty good as a Colts fan. So what do you like? Let's have an honest conversation here. Drop it in the comments. What do y'all think? Do you think, one, do you think he's going to start all 17 games? Right? And then 2, what do you think his stats are? Like, give me ballpark. You don't have to give me exact numbers. Like, you think he's above 2,000 yards passing? You think he's above 500 yards rushing? 20 plus touchdowns, 15 plus touchdowns, 20 plus picks? What do y'all think, right? And that's kind of the whole thing with this. Post rookie camp predictions. And then even on the thumbnail, it says, can he prove the doubters wrong, right? You got a lot of people who say if you put him out there, you're going to wreck him. I don't know. And this is I specifically said post rookie camp predictions. I'm going to do this again. We're going to do this again when we get to training camp, right? We're going to do it again before the season starts when we know if he's starting. We're going to give you guys predictions on this. So, I mean, drop yours in the comment. And as always, you guys, we are so thankful for you guys watching these videos. We love chiming in. I want to hear from everybody. I want to hear what they think. And if you haven't joined the No Horsing Around family, please jump in, you guys. The off season is when we get some good stuff out there to you guys. It's when we prep. We get to have a fun time. We get to bring on other content creators, reporters. Sometimes, we get some interviews where we're hoping to go to training camp again this season. Like, it's all fun, really fun stuff. And you're going to miss it if you're not tuned in. So make sure you tuned in and turned on and ready to rock when we come on. We'll be going, like I said, the previous episode, we'll be going live on Thursday this week, not Wednesday, because we want to hit that schedule release and talk to you guys about what you think about the schedule. So in these things, same way we always do it. I love you. I know Zach loves you. Go Colts. Talk to y'all next time.